Frank Mint. 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 Frank Mint.
Peace, y'all. This is Frank Mintz. Here to talk about the beat breakdown for White Jesus of the Oxtails LP. Featuring myself, Frank Mintz, and my brother Charles Heron. Shout out to that brother, man. You know what I'm saying? My brother Charles Heron, man. Salute, bro. White Jesus, man. So this is kind of like, this is the end. White Jesus, like now we kind of close to the end of the project with this one. We kind of close to the end because we got this one, there's another one. You know what I'm saying? But this is kind of like we at the tail end, you know, whatever. The original feature, we had a feature on. I'm not going. I don't know if I should say his name, man, whatever. But he gonna be on the remix. I put it like that. Very close brother of mine, man. Like good dude, man. You know, whatever. He's supposed to have been on this. He's supposed to have been on the White Jesus, you know, whatever. So I guess due to time and scheduling, you know, stuff didn't really go that way. But he's gonna be on the next stuff we got. You know, he's gonna be on the next stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's for a fact. You know, whatever. So this kind of came about from a previous song that Charles kind of had already in a tuck with my brother Bulls the Architect. You know, shout out to Bulls. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. So them two had something, and it's actually out right now. You know, it's out on streaming platforms, whatever, called Jerry Curl Drug Dealers. You know what I'm saying? That's out right now. So, you know, y'all go cop that. Y'all go check that out. So, I think it kind of came from a part two of that. I could be wrong, you know what I'm saying, but it kind of came, the way I feel is like a part two of that, you know what I'm saying, whatever. So, kind of like almost similar, same storylines, need be say, and it could not be, you know what I'm saying, but it just, I guess that's how I kind of like interpret it, you know, whatever, because, you know, after hearing that, you know, whatever, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, like this got to be a part two or something, but I don't know, like it's not set in stone. It wasn't said. This is how I'm feeling, you know. This is kind of how I felt, you know. So whatever, but this kind of came along, like I say, like you know, Charles hit me up and he was like, yo, Frank, man, we gotta do one more. We gotta add one more, like to the batch. I said, okay, you know, what you got in mind? So he kind of gave me a general idea. So this is why I say, like, this is like part two from the previous song I just said, the Jerry Curl Drug Dealers. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of feel like maybe it's not, but to me it just felt like a part two, you know, whatever. So I said, okay. So I went in, you know, came because remind you, like, I pretty much, the project was like done, you know, pretty much, but then we came back with this one. And this is like one of the ones like, okay, all right, this is like the tail end. So okay, so we're back in. So I had to like cook up something else. So I already had the idea. They gave me the idea on what they, you know, what he wanted, how he wanted to be, what era he wanted to be in, the time frame. So he gave me all this right here. I said, okay, all right. So I kind of went off of that. So I said, okay, all right. So now I need to be more, I guess, like not so in my head, not so so technical, you know, if that makes sense. So I had to approach this a little bit more, all right, you know, think of that era. Well, I also think of, you know, the timeline and the space, you know what I'm saying, of that era, you know what I'm saying, whatever. So I had to think of that, but I also had to do it to a point where, like, it's still updated, like now, you know, it's still up to now, you know, what's going on for like in the music wise, the sound of music, you know what I'm saying, what's out there, whatever. So I still had to make it more like now, you know what I'm saying. So what I did was, let me see, again, here we go, you can't go wrong with pianos. So again, going through crate digging, you know, just going through some samples or whatever, going through some sounds or whatever, and I came across again another like out of tune pianos. Like you can't. I'm gonna tell you something. What I've learned, you can't go wrong with pianos. Like pianos can be so phenomenal with beats, man. But it's all about how you paint it, how you paint the pictures with them pianos. So with this right here, this was more like the pianos were dancing. You know what I'm saying? You know, that's what caught Charles Heron. He was like, yo, I love the way you got the piano keys dancing. So I kind of made it like that. So like it's simple, but everything was bass, you know what I'm saying, around them pianos. You know what I'm saying? Of course you got the drums with it, but on this particular track, the pianos were like the most like highlighted sound of this of this track, you know what I'm saying, this beat, whatever. So I'm gonna give you a run through of just, you know, what they kind of sound like, and then I'll let you hear what I did to it. So it's like that's it. So me, again, taking all that, listen to all that right there, listen to all that, and I'm just kind of like, okay, I want this